Does working out while fasting build muscle, burn fat, or even increase strength? Well, I'm gonna let you on a little secret. I actually always recommend to train in the fasted state. In this video, I'm gonna be showing you exactly what I do to help energize not only my workouts, but throughout my entire day in order to consistently make progress. So let me start off by saying this. There's two ways of fasting. You got the intermittent fasting, and then you also got dry fasting. This is specifically what I do when it comes to my daily routine. Now, intermittent fasting is very well known within the fitness industry. I'm sure you might have heard this term before. And its main benefit is for allowing you to enter ketosis, a metabolic state characterized by raised levels of ketone bodies in the body's tissue. Meaning when you're in this state, you're using your stored body fats as fuel when carbs are not easily available. Now, carbs, if you didn't know, is what your body utilizes as this primary source of energy, such as working out, doing any kind of task throughout your day, or even just simply walking. This requires some form of energy that needs to be used, and that's what carbs is for, right? So now when carbs aren't readily available, your body starts to become more efficient in the way it starts searching for forms of energy. So in this case, it becomes the fats. But here's how you properly enter ketosis while intermittent fasting. You want to make sure that you're not intaking any or as few little calories as possible throughout the day, or more specifically, throughout your fasted state. But you can allow to have sources of energy such as water, salt, lemon, things to that nature. These are all things that don't really have a strong calorie content when it comes to a serving to serving basis, but it has a lot of benefits in terms of the micronutrients. So for example, I like to utilize, a cup of water, salt, a little bit of like lemon juices to help fuel my body, get the electrolytes needed so I don't start cramping. I don't have that brain fog, because if you're not taking your micronutrients into account, you're going to start accruing a lot of, physiological deficiencies. And in order for you to do, your day-to-day tasks, not only just working out, you got to make sure that your brain is taken care of, right? Your bodily fluids, your brain function, all that is really important to just sustain your day and make it a habitual lifestyle. Now, there are some studies in regarding to how much calories you can consume and still reap the benefits of intermittent fasting when you're in this ketosis state, but I'm not going to be going too deep into the details of that. Typically, I don't consume any more than like 80 to 100 calories within my fasted state. So for example, a practical advice that I would say is, if you like to have your cup of coffee, I recommend it to have it black. But if you need something, just don't go overboard on what you're putting in. So I like to just stick to just milk and coffee. That's it. And my portions of milk is like maybe like a fourth of a cup. And with my brand of milk, that's like no more than like 30 calories at best, right? So I have that 2 or 3 times a day. And for the entire fasted state, I'm only getting about 60 calories. So I'm falling within that minimum threshold of consuming calories, but still reaping the benefits of intermittent fasting. But let's say if you wanted to go have like a smoothie, you start adding like protein powder, start adding milk, honey, all that good stuff, right? That's a whole meal, my boy. You pretty much not even in the fasted state at that point. That's easily like 400 plus 5 calories, right? That is definitely not the right way to go about intermittent fasting to stay in that ketogenic state. Now let's talk about the other form of fasting, which is called dry fasting. Very similar to intermittent fasting. However, you can't consume any water or food. So no calories at all and no micronutrients at all, right? Now this is actually what I'm doing currently for the last like 2 weeks now. More specifically because it's the month of Ramadan. And if you're Muslim, but if you're not Muslim, it's just pretty much a holy month throughout the year that we Muslims observe. And essentially we fast from sunrise to sunset. So regarding dry fasting, I will say this, there are a lot more drawbacks compared to intermittent fasting. And that's because if you don't time your fasts and your workouts and your overall structure of your day, it's going to be very, very hard, right? Which leads on to the next point of this video. Let's talk about how we can cycle the different periods of fasting. Now, studies shown a minimum of a 12-hour fasting period is necessary to reap the benefits specific to weight loss and improve blood sugar regulation. But there are more benefits for fasting longer. This include a range of fasting for 14 to up to 18 hours, which will provide more significant weight loss benefits compared to a 12-hour fast, while still being sustainable, which is very important, as well as other benefits such as autophagy, the natural process of our body to disassemble cells and recycle any unnecessary or dysfunctional components, all to create new and healthier cells. Now, one practical benefit is that intermittent fasting or dry fasting is going to be helping me in particular to reduce any inflammation. So that's really important for me, particularly because whenever it comes to my training, I need to feel light. If I'm feeling heavy, lethargic, I'm not gonna have a good session. But when I'm feeling light, right, my body's feeling good, then my relative strength actually increases. So that right there is a big pro that I've been noticing when it comes to this style of fasting, whether it's intermittent fasting or dry fasting. With that being said, here's how I implement intermittent fasting and dry fasting in a very practical way. When intermittent fasting, I typically fast for up to 13 to 15 hours per day. And I've been doing this for a very long time. So I would say it's low key, just the standard of me going about my life. I only have coffee, water, and like I mentioned before, electrolytes like salt and lemon to pretty much just help minimize any deficiencies when it comes to like brain function and, not having cramps throughout my workouts. So I pretty much break my fast around 12 to like 2 p.m., have my first big meal, then have maybe like another cup of coffee around like 4 or 5 p.m. and have another big meal closer to like 7 or 8 p.m. And yeah, that's pretty much how I go about my day. I may, consume a snack, right before bed, but yeah, pretty much have 2 big meals, 2 to 3 cups of coffee and a lot of water and maybe a snack, but that's pretty much it. Then for my dry fasting, which is what I'm doing right now during Ramadan, I actually typically fast for 12 to 13 hours. And yes, it is a lot shorter, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easier because I have a shorter fasting period, which I'll actually get to in the later parts of this video. So the question that y'all all pretty much been waiting for is, how do I train when it comes to intermittent fasting or dry fasting? To be very straightforward, when intermittent fasting, my training is hard and with the best quality I can keep on a consistent basis, meaning I'm training heavy, taking into account that I'm periodizing my training intensities depending on my exercise selection. Doing about 2 to 3 sets, training close to failure, doing cardio, whether it's walking, jump roping, treadmill, everything that's under the sun that I pretty much showcase throughout my entire videos. And I usually do this within the first hour or two of me waking in the morning. This is because I still have caffeine in my system to help energize my workouts. I still take those electrolytes and hydrate myself with water so I don't cramp and just feel good throughout the workouts and also throughout my day. So everything's pretty much normal. I would say it's perfect actually. But when I'm dry fasting, this is a whole different ball game. This is where things get a lot more difficult. My workouts to some degree completely changes. Even the time and the duration of when and how long I work out for changes as well. So instead of me working out within the first hour or two of me waking, I actually kind of push that towards like the first 4 hours of me waking, sometimes 5, depending on, how my day is going about. And this is typically around noon where I get my workout in. Because me personally, if I do it any earlier or push it any later, right, then I'm gonna incur a lot of thirst difficulties. I'm gonna be very thirsty because me naturally, I like to drink a lot of water, like about 1.5 liters in the workout session itself while I'm working out. So with me not having that water access or access to water, it's gonna be very difficult for me to train. So this is why, again, I make sure that I not only get my caffeine in the morning, like before the fasting period starts, aka before sunrise, not only get my caffeine, not only drink, enough water, and also get enough carbs. So then now I can utilize that as like fuel for my workouts for the first third of my day, pretty much, right? So if I push that fasted state and extend the time of me working out, I'm not going to be able to tap into those carb sources as easily. It's not gonna be readily available because I've already pretty much burnt through those carb sources, just throughout the day. So it's really important how you time your workouts if you're training fasted without water, and knowing when you should eat, knowing what to eat so it can properly fuel you for the workout and the remainder of the day as well. Like even me right now talking to y'all while I'm dry fasting is a mission because my throat's dry, no pun intended. I'm actually kind of thirsty and it's only 11 a.m. You feel me? So y'all can kind of put in perspective, like the thirst is really the harder part of the game when it comes to dry fasting compared to hunger. So within the actual workouts, it's actually very, very condensed, short and sweet, but very effective and still according to my plans. So according to my objective that I want to reach, nothing's changed. So I'm actually doing 1/3 of the effort that I was doing before Ramadan during Ramadan. Meaning instead of me doing like 5 exercises, I'm only doing 3 exercises this time. And to talk about it even more, I'm only doing 3 exercises that are all compound movements. And within those compound movements, I'm only doing 1 to 2 working sets. Yeah, you heard that correctly. 1 or 2 at most, right? Typically I do 2 to 3, but I'm doing just 1/3 of that, just 1 or 2, depending on the session that I'm doing. All while keeping the intensity the same according to my periodization training strategy, aka my training block, which I actually timed perfectly because during the first 2 weeks of my Ramadan, pretty much, I'll only be training at RPE 7 to 8, which is important because I'm not going to be incurring any extra fatigue or any, unfamiliar stimulus that I'm not already capable of doing since I'm training at a lower RPE, right? So that's really important. Knowing when to train till failure when you're in a fasted state, knowing which variables are crucial for, in pretty much getting progress and, sticking to the plan is something that I think comes in very handy when you know how to periodize your training. So that's why I say, if y'all don't know how to periodize your training, you're pretty much going about it the most inefficient way as possible, especially when you're natural, especially when you've been training for a long time, over 3-4 years. You got to know how to govern your variables. You got to know how to plan accordingly so you can actually make consistent growth and progress. So if anything, Ramadan came at a perfect time. I'm pretty much training as if Ramadan didn't even come, right? I'm not switching my training strategies completely different. Like I'm not reducing my intensities. I'm not, maintaining, just a lot of videos would be saying during Ramadan, during this month, you gotta, focus on just maintaining training light, whatnot, or doing high repetitions with light loads. Well, yeah, sure, but you're not gonna make any progress. And let's say even if your goal isn't to make progress, you want to focus on, the purpose of Ramadan, the spiritual gains, you can still do that. You can still be efficient with the way you train, which is pretty much what I'm doing. And I'm only dedicating no cap, 45 minutes to 60 minutes 4 times a week. That's it. I have more than enough time to focus on things outside of the gym too. And I'm making gains as well. So I'm going to be coming out of Ramadan with, inshallah, goals that I've accomplished, in the gym and outside of the gym. So let me kind of just walk y'all through a session, maybe 2 sessions. For my skill-based days, I'm only training the front lever, planche, and handstand push-ups, building up to a working set of 2 sets. I do this 2 times per week, 1 session centered around strength and the other session centered around volume. But in this scenario, I'm only manipulating the hold or rep ranges and using the correct band assistance or progression to pretty much allow me to stick to my dedicated repetitions for just 2 working sets. Now, leading up to those 3 exercises, I do 2 sets of isolation work just to warm up with. So these sets aren't doing anything or taking away from my energy or ability to even build muscle, but more so in a way to just expedite that warming up process by engaging in specific muscles and joints necessary to activate, all according to my primary movement, which again is the planche, front lever, and handstand push-ups. So the lat pull downs with a narrow or shoulder width pronated grip will help in front lever activation, or the tricep extensions will aid in my planche or handstand push-ups. Hope that makes sense. It's very meticulously planned, no cap. Then for my full body day, this one's a little bit more tough, but I still was able to get it done for both my sessions. Only doing 3 compound movements centered around the weighted chin-ups, dips, and front squats. However, I'm only working up to a working set of 1. Just 1 set, and this is super important. Otherwise, I'm gonna pass out if I do any more with the same intensity. Now, similar to my skill day, I also have a strength-based day and a volume-based day. So that's 4 total sessions for the week, which I've been doing prior to Ramadan, and it makes the most sense for my goals even now. And the reason why I'm only doing 1 set is because it just takes, remember, 1/3 of the effort to maintain the strength or muscle you've already built. And since I'm only training within the RPE ranges of 7 or 8, these loads are perfectly fine for just 1 set without hindering my performance. And also, more importantly, without me like passing out or, having any kind of like health issues, like a little law. Now, I also use isolations to warm up my body as well, but it's just to warm up my body for those primary lifts, same as a skill day. Again, it's not taking anything away from performance or the stamina perspective as well. And yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing for the last week and a half, maybe close to 2 weeks now. I didn't record all the sessions. I think it's kind of redundant, but I hope that kind of explains exactly what I'm doing for both styles of fasting, whether it's intermittent fasting or dry fasting. I do both and I can still make results, right? And I'm pretty much looking forward to still hit a PR in the coming weeks, which might line up with either the last week of Ramadan, or either way, we sticking to the plan. And I might make a mini series. I might do like a part 2 where I document like anything that I do to adjust according to the plan, which I've kind of did. And I'll talk about that once I kind of like get a couple more sessions with this little adjustment that I've made, so I kind of have a better understanding of like what I've done, how I feel, and how it can, correlate to your training or your future endeavors in working out while fasting. But hey, what do I know? If you want to see more content like this, be sure to follow me, man. I'm the Top Fitness Scout shit, no cap.
Cobra Trains, he's up next. Make sure y'all subscribe to him. He's number 1 out here.
He's the toughest fitness guy out here.